Right. So I made one video showing you if you want to write faster novels and have like a helper that can help you brainstorm and research for you and all that kind of stuff and help you just edit your novel if you just want to do light editing or heavy editing or even help you like completely write entire scenes for you, so long as you give it good guidance. Or to rewrite, if you want to write a very rough draft, very bare bones rough draft, how it can fill all that in with like rich narration. And Claude is the best at this still. But you can still try using, ChatGPT. There is the new model, but it doesn't really do creative writing any better. And so you can try the O3 Mini. Maybe when O3 comes out, it's really geared more toward like mathematics and coding, more towards coding than anything else, which is really awesome if you're coding, which I do too. But for writing novels, it's not really any better than 4. But you can try these if you want to. But unfortunately, I don't think they use projects yet, so you have to probably wait till the full 3 is available. So right here, you click on a new project. You can also click on Explore GPTs and then click on Create a GPT, like I said before. But it's really kind of the same thing, kind of offers the same options. But either one, you can try them. Anyway, click here, name it something like Writing Novels, create the project. There's 2 different things you can upload here. This way you upload files. So I'm going to upload a file here, my Dean Koontz sample to mimic, like that. And by the way, something that's not very intuitive here. So after you close this, you just see one file. It almost doesn't seem intuitive. Like, how do you add more? It almost seems like there's be a plus sign or something. You just click on it and you add other files. So you can add other files here if you want to. And then this is where I'm going to give it instructions. So I'm going to show you my instructions. So here's my instructions. These are the 12. If you want to read this right here, just pause the video. And then this right here, this is the first 8, and then these ones here. What you can do is you can hold down the Windows key, the Shift key, and then hit S on your keyboard as you're holding those down. It brings this up right here. This is if you're using Windows 11. Drag and drop this, copy that. Then you can paste this and tell ChatGPT to transcribe it. So you go and you just tell it, transcribe this. You just paste it and it pastes the thing there. Watch this. They'll take that you just copied and pasted the image, and it turns that image into text, which is super cool. By the way, ever since I canceled this because I just been too busy using Claude right now and haven't really been using ChatGPT, I've noticed it's gone a lot slower. Like right now, what is it doing? And look at that. It just transcribed what I had in my document. So that's really cool if you ever want to transcribe something that works really awesome. Just thought I'd share that with you because I'm not going to share this file. Don't feel like it. So there you have it. Take that, copy it, take that, copy. If you want any of this other stuff down here, you can too. Right, boom, okay. So Control A, Control C, open this up for instructions. These are the instructions I'm giving it. I start out with the most important instruction, which I should actually write with rich narration rather, like Dean Koontz. All right, once that's done, that's pretty much the whole thing. That's pretty much it right there. You can then add more stuff here. So for example, I'm going to show you how to do it though, like how to use it, other tricks, just in case you want to know some of the tricks. There's this main trick you have to do when working with ChatGPT, and I want to show you that because it's a certain kind of workflow that I used to use when I used ChatGPT. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get what you want out of it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But anyway, you can add other files here. Like for example, you can add all the notes, your characters. You can add like, if you're working on a novel, this is where you want to put your outline. So it has some idea where the story is headed. You can also put notes in there as well, things like characters, what their, not just their physical description, but more like their personalities, their backstories, things like that. So it has stuff to draw on. So it doesn't just make stuff up. And then you'd also put the chapters as you have them so far that you finished, but not the whole entire book. You just want to put like what I do is I take a chapter after I finish a chapter, I go give it to ChatGPT, and I say summarize this in 500 words. The reason why I say 500 words is I want a good summary. I want a lot of detail in the summary, but it's still a lot shorter than the actual chapter, which is more like 5,000 to 10,000 words. Right, and then here you can also upload other files. You can also connect to Google Google Drive documents. This is helpful, but honestly, the whole reason for the project, so you don't have to do that. Now, if for some reason you don't have access to projects, you don't have access to export GPTs to make your own, then every time you start a new thread, you just upload all the files here. I would upload that file and that file, and whatever other files I want, I'd upload that every single time here. And then you can tell it more instructions if you want. And then as long as you're still in that same thread, it'll kind of keep track of all that. So, right. Now here's how the workflow goes. So now I'm going to tell it, please rewrite this scene for me. I'm just going to tell it that. I'm going to see if it actually follows this instructions at all. I'll read the attached documents. Okay, and then I'm going to go grab my novel here. If you want to read this, you can. So I'll just go ahead and you can pause it, read that. Pause it, read that. Just so you can see what it's going to do to it. Pause it, read that. Right, so and this is only so you can see it if you want to see an example of how I'm going to be working with it. Oh, also tell it to write this in a document. I prefer this. You don't have to tell it to do this, but working with a canvas I feel is a lot cooler. You'll see it should start to go like that, and then it should place that over here as a canvas. There it goes. So just real quick, I'm just gonna read some of this, and then why it's doing this, and then you can pause and read the rest if you want to. Clay raced across the synthetic grass, his heartbeat thudding like a warm drum in his chest. The hot blade training session with teacher Lang, that's correct actually, was starting in minutes, and he could already hear the old students igniting their weapons, the hum of energy blades crackling through the air, his backpack stuffed with outdated books and gear his father insisted on. None of that off-world nonsense, pulled on his shoulders like an anchor. He hitched up, forcing his legs to move faster. Then he saw him, Scott Jenkins, standing in the middle of the walkway like an iron gate that fused to swing out. So you notice it's not really adding more narrative. It's not like this is a good place where it should have dove more into more description, right? It should have made it like add more ideas, more just things that are happening. Maybe there's like paint a picture more of where we're at, not just the synthetic grass and that's it. And like his backpack, that doesn't really paint a picture. Maybe some, futuristic buildings or flying cars or something. Because it's a sci-fi novel. And yeah, it kept this is the problem. It doesn't extend it like it's supposed to. But here's what I used to do. So this is the workflow. So I would then take this and be like, okay, this is good enough. At least it's all correct grammar and all that kind of stuff. So I can then take that, copy it. And actually, I already kind of started doing this a second ago. And you can see here like what it had done, I think. Or maybe not. It's a previous attempt, but go like this. And then what I'll do is I'll take this first part here. Bam. Start a new document. Okay. Now we are going to work section by section to make or to paint a better picture of the world. We are going to add more sensory details, world building details like flying cars, big background, buildings, etc. Maybe robots walking or cleaning. And then his senses, what he feels, motions, and physically. All this is in the instructions, by the way. Okay, and then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then so only work on this part here, not the whole scene. I'm telling it that because last time I did this, it kept trying to work the whole scene. So I'm making sure that it only does this section that I posted to it. And I already can see it's listening, so that's good. It's adding the stuff I told it to, right? And this is what I had to do before. Now, once I've told it this, each time I post each section, it should already know. I'll just say, let's do the same thing with the next section. So Clay raced across synthetic grass, his heartbeat thudded or thudding like a war drum in his chest, the artificial turf beneath his feet flexing slightly with each step, designed to absorb impact, but it did nothing to lessen the weight of the backpack, a sagging burden of outdated books and gear his father refused to replace. Overhead, sleek hover trams zipped between towering buildings of steel and glass. That's a good touch. Their neon advertisements flashing holographic messages in a dozen languages. Nice. The city hummed around him, a constant drone of propulsion engines, robotic. What is that? Servitors? I don't know what that word is, actually. I'm going to look it up. Wow, I never heard this word before. So, a person who serves or attends on a social superior. Okay, cool. Good to know. I'll probably never use that word. The hot blade training session with teacher Lang was starting in minutes. Well, I didn't finish this, did I? And if you want to read this, I'm not going to read it all to you guys, but that's so much better, right? Now it opens up with, a little bit slower. It adds a nice pacing. We now get a chance to really feel the world around us, to see what it is, to feel Clay in his frustration with his backpack, to kind of feel more like how it's digging into his shoulders, how that makes him feel. I wonder if he goes into a backstory about the dad. Let me see. Right. Anyway, that's actually good. I like this. It really did a good job. Now I like this a lot. Actually, I might actually use this actually as when I finally get around to rewriting this book, or me and AI get around to rewriting it. Where was it at? Oh, that's right here. Okay, so now it's already selected because it was selected last time. So now I just copy and paste that new part, and it just replaces that section I just had. And you can see where I just was. Bam, that was just replaced. Nice opening. And then I just go and I just start reading through again, and I look for places where, because you don't want to do that every single place, right? Otherwise, your book just gets blown up too big and it's too slow. You want times where it's just more fast and snappy like this, but you want to read it and just find places where it's like, I feel like there could be more there, right? There's not enough there. Let's see here. For example, maybe he could, yeah. So what we can do is try to say extend, um, new doc, do the same for this part, but only extend a bit. Maybe a bit more backstory for Scott. And yet that it takes a lot more work, a lot more effort working with ChatGPT versus Claude Sonnet. Because with Claude Sonnet, you can just pretty much give it to it and, with the notes and stuff, and it's going to understand and do what you want it to do. It also has a really cool built-in style thing that's just really amazing. Okay, now this is a lot. I don't know why it did that so long. If you want to read that, you can. Actually, it doesn't matter. This is the first time we meet Scott, right? This is perfect. This is like what Dean Koontz would do. It's good sometimes to take the time to actually write enough little bit of backstory, take the time to kind of slow the pacing down and describe this character more. This is good, actually. I'm going to leave it. I was going to say cut this in half, but I like everything that's here. It's good. It's what you want. Well, it might not be what you want. And then you want to kind of speed it back up again, like boom, let's hit him with a bunch of stuff happening. It's more interesting. And then somewhere in here, this is all too fast now. So you want to slow it down somewhere again. And you just want to find those natural spots. So that's what you have to do. Now, if you're working with Claude, watch what we can do. We can just take that exact same scene. And I know you already seen this before, but I want to show you it again because it's got even better. So you go to Claude. You have to pay for Claude Sonnet because if you don't, matter of fact, even if you pay for it, sometimes you run out of time. Whenever it gives you the warning, you want to listen to that warning and start a new thread. And so I just have a slightly different workflow. What I do is I choose my style, and I've already showed another video. So watch another video You want to know how to create a style and everything. I show how to do all that. I just want to show you the difference this makes. I'm going to choose a project. Actually, I don't know if I want to, I'm going to make this fair. I'm going to start a new one, and I'm going to call this clay for now, just so I know what it is. Now, what I'm trying to achieve, this is where I'm going to put the notes that I put in the other one. So we're doing something very similar. Right, so there we go. Then I create the project. Oh, actually, I also have this. I forgot about this. So I can actually do it here as well. But anyway, whatever, might as well double up on it. Over here is where you add your files. So I'm just going to do what I did before. I'm just going to add that one file that I added before. So we're just going to add, nope, that wasn't it. No, I already added the how to write. Oh, that's right, the Dean Koontz sample. Okay, so I have the Dean Koontz sample. Please read the Dean Koontz sample and try to mimic it. Be sure to add extra details to the scene, like sci-fi stuff, buildings, hover cars, hover train, or whatever, robots, cleaning, etc. Tap into Clay's emotions that he feels and his sensory details. Right, then we're just going to post a scene. Oh, write this in a document. Thanks. It's good to be nice to AI. I think it actually matters, by the way. Been doing this for a couple years now, and definitely makes a difference. Now watch what happens, right? Watch what happens with, oh, look at that. That's funny. Okay. It even understood that Dean Koontz often likes to start his first sentence in all capitals, not just the first letter. That's interesting. The night air tasted like metal and memories. Clay hadn't expected the latter, but there it was, coating his tongue with the bittersweet flavor of everything he'd left behind in old Sacramento. Look at that little detail it's already added without me even asking, right? Without me having to, go back and take a section and tell it to extend it. The cleaning bots whirred past him, their brushes spinning against the gleaming streets as they collected the day debris. One paused to examine his shoes, probably calculating whether his carbon footprint exceeded regulations. So brilliant right there. It's adding a little bit of Meg Cabot kind of humor, maybe even a little bit of Dean Koontz humor there. My Aunt Martha would have loved these things, he thought. She'd been a neat freak who named her vacuum cleaner Gerald. That's fantastic. Because I asked it in the notes that I posted for what to do. In those notes, one of the things I said is to try to tap into past memories for descriptions and stuff. So much better than GPT. Hopefully you can see that. Above, the hover trains glided on their magnetic tracks, their soft blue underbellies pulsing with artificial gravity. The 9:15 to New Angeles. Oh, I get it. Like, okay, like a Los Angeles, but New Angeles. Whooshed overhead, displacing air that ruffled Clay's hair. He'd taken the train exactly once 3 years ago when Sarah was still alive. The memory jabbed at him like a particular motivated ice pack. Now, one thing it will do, this is one thing, both of them will do it, but especially Claude will do this. It will, if you ask it to tap into backstory, it will make up backstory, but it will make up backstory that's not consistent unless you give it some other notes, right? So this is why it's good to have an outline with character descriptions and all that, so it knows what to tap into. Now, if it ever does this, if it ever makes up something that you don't like about like, I don't know, that really fits, then you can just ask it to alter it, change it. You can just tell it here, edit this a little bit, this section right here, you can just copy and paste, say, edit that section a little bit, and it'll just edit this document, and then you're good to go. It'll just edit that section. So it's pretty cool. A holographic advertisement for pixel perfect memories flicked to life beside him. Missing someone? It chirped. Also, it's just like whenever it rewrites something for me, I just like it better. I enjoy reading it more. When I read it, I feel drawn in, and like sometimes I can't stop reading. Like it's just a joy to work with. Versus ChatGPT often irritates me. And I'm like, dang it, man, I don't enjoy reading it as much. The end result's not as good. And then having to go section by section, then I have to go and tell it, okay, let's extend this part, let's extend that part. It's like just so much more work. The hospital for special children loomed overhead, its chrome and glass facade stretching towards stars that had long since given up. That's cool. They had long since given up competing with the city's artificial glow. That's such a good sentence. Clay's boots clicked against the self-healing pavement as he approached the. Ooh, that's nice. That's a good touch. I never mentioned self-healing pavement anywhere. It's basing this off of other things I've described, like the artificial grass and stuff. Each step released tiny bursts of recycled energy. That is such a cool touch. Powering the ground level lighting. See, this is good because sometimes it comes up with really good ideas. Like I already have a pretty good, rich world building for this novel, which I get into as it goes on. But it's like adding some really cool elements here that doesn't contradict anything I have. And if I give it all the notes to it, it'll do even a better job at this. His grandmother would have called it witchcraft. And again, she said the same thing about self-parking cars. That's fantastic. The hospital's doors recognized him. Man, such good stuff. This isn't in my example anywhere. This is good. But what's funny is later on in the novel, which it doesn't know about, I do actually have self-recognizing doors and stuff. Like your house can recognize you and so on. Like pretty much AI is built in everything. The hospital's doors recognized him. They always did, even though he'd only been here twice. The biotech scanner probably remembered his molecular structure, and maybe it just liked his face. That's a good touch. With the AIs these days, you can never be sure. That's such a good thing. Or maybe it just liked his face. That's so good. Inside, the lobby smelled like lavender and sanitized. Wait a minute. Okay. What is it doing right now? Wait, what is it doing right now? Hold on a second. I think it just went off on a whole different story and didn't like rewrite what I told it to. Let me see. It's never done that before. Okay, you misunderstood me. I want you to rewrite the scene that I am pasting right now. But what you wrote is awesome, so use as much of that as you can, like the old Sacramento cleaning bots. What else did I mention that was really cool? That bit about Aunt Martha was great. What else? The hover trains, the 9:15, New Angeles. What else? Holographic ads. Good stuff. But then you went off into La La Land about a hospital. So instead, keep on track with my story you are rewriting. Try that one more time. Oh, that's why it goofed up. That's so crazy. So it was just going by that little bit of that's crazy. Okay. It was literally just going by the little bit of notes I gave it when I wrote to it the first time. So I thought I copied this. I guess it didn't copy it. What I pasted here was something totally different. But that's just the notes again. Ah, okay. That's why it goofed up, because I didn't actually paste the scene. All right, now let's see what it does with this. So I'm not going to read all of this. I just want to read part of it to you, and then you can stop and read the rest. The synthetic grass crushed under Clay's feet as he hooked it across the campus, or as he hooked it across the campus. Late for hot blade training with teacher Lang, his ancient backpack yanked on his shoulders like an over enthusiastic chiropractor with a grudge. The cleaning bots whirred past him, their brushes spinning against the grass in perfect formation. They reminded him of Aunt Martha's obsession with her vintage Roomba, where she'd name Gerald and talk to it like a pet. That's pretty cool. Above, the 915 hover train to New Angeles whooshed overhead, its soft blue underbelly pulsing with artificial gravity. The rich kids probably rode that to their fancy pirate academies or private academies, their zero gravity bags floating behind them like obedient puppies. Clay's dad wouldn't spring for one of those bags. Off-road tech is for people who've forgotten how to use their muscles, he always said, usually while adjusting their home's manual thermostat like it was 2020 or something. Clay hitched his prehistoric backpack higher, then froze mid-step. Scott Jenkins materialized in his path like a particularly unwelcome system update. A holographic ad flickered to life beside them, chirping, "Feeling threatened? Try new self-defense classes." Clay wanted to tell the AI its timing needed work. "Where you going, nerd?" Scott's face scrunched up like he was trying to solve a quantum physics problem with his eyebrows. Clay clutched his backpack straps tighter, his heart doing the cha-cha against his ribs. "Nothing," he squeaked, his voice doing its best impression of a mouse at a cat convention. "The Thrash member, and wasn't that just the most try-hard gang name ever? That's cool." Inched closer, Clay remembered when Scott's biggest crime was stealing extra pudding cups in the third grade. Now he stood there like a wall of pure muscle, probably bench pressing hover cars in his spare time, which shouldn't be that difficult, right? They're hover cars. Anyway, "You're staring at me? We have a prob." Scott's breath smelled like synthetic coffee and poor life choices. Now, this is a place where I might actually say, and I don't have to like copy. I could copy and paste this part and say, hey, I could use the same system I just showed you before as well. But usually I can just tell it, hey, extend that part a little bit, like just add a little bit more backstory about Scott, and then update. In matter of fact, I'll just tell it to do that while we read. Good stuff. "Do me a favor and edit this doc. Update the section about Scott. Dive a little deeper into his past. Give us to make him less of a cookie cutter character." There we go. So now it should go ahead and update this document right here. There we go. See how it's deleting? And then it's going to rewrite that section. Right? That's cool because what's cool about that is it helps it flow together. Usually it does. Usually it flows together nicely. So let's see what it did here. "The Thrash member, and I wasn't just the most tryhard gang name ever," inched closer. Clay remembered when Scott used to spend weekends at the Morrison Science Center, dragging his little sister Emma along to every robotic demonstration. By the way, if you want to kind of give it an idea of what the backstory should be, you can do that, right? If you have an idea of who Scott was, if it's really not that important, because he's not, honestly, he's just a character in the beginning of the book, and then Clay's parents die, and he has to go to another planet to live with his uncle. So then a whole kind of crazy thing happens with these aliens and stuff on that planet. But the point is that to me, it's not that important. But if you have an idea or it is important, then you just tell it like, hey, write a backstory about Scott, how he once tried or he once saved Clay from drowning, and also maybe add a backstory how his father used to beat him or how he loved his brother and he looked up to his brother and his brother died. Whatever. and then it'll write that, and it'll write it good. The kid who once dreamed of programming medical bots now had thrash signature neuroplants or neuroimplant scar crawling up his neck like a digital vine. Clay wondered if Emma still went to those demos without him. You staring at me? We have a problem. Scott's breath smelled like synthetic coffee and regret. The smart kids whispered that Thrash's implants mess with the pressure centers of your brain, made you angry all the time. But Clay had been Scott's mom. Hold on. But Clay, had seen Scott's mom on the news last month, interviewed about workplace automation at the factory. Sometimes poverty did what technology couldn't, turn good people mean. Clay's brain rapid fired through his options like a malfunctioning service bot. Run, stay, pretend to spontaneously combust. That's funny. His legs trembled worse than the time at the school's gravity stabilizers went haywire during class or dance class. No, I'm just trying to get to training. Scott invaded Clay's personal space like a virus through a firewall, his eyes stormy as a glitchy weather sim. Those same eyes had once lit up explaining servo motors to a wide eyed kid at the science center, the same eyes that had spotted Clay thrashing an old Sacramento's community pool that summer day. But Scott dove in without hesitation. Now that's actually, that little part is there, right? I did put that Scott saved him one time from drowning, but nothing about all this. That's adding a bunch of information, which is fantastic. 'Cause that's what I wanted to do. Now they just promise thrashing of a different kind somewhere under that thrash implant. I kind of like how I did that. How he was so kind of did this play on words. How hey, Clay was thrashing in the pool one time, drowning, and now they're part of they thrash in a different way because they're part of the thrash gang, whatever. Somewhere under that thrash implant was a kid who'd given Clay his lunch credits for a month after the pool incident, saying, "Hey, what are friends for?" With a shrug that suggested heroism was no big deal. A crowd materialized around them, vultures with smartphone implants probably already streaming their neural feeds. The cleaning bots retreated to a safe distance, their sensors probably detecting the high probability of immense mess. You think training is going to keep you from being a wimp? Scott shoved Clay back, the synthetic grass squeaking in protest under his feet. Come on, show me. Clay's mouth decided to go rogue, completely ignoring all survival protocols. Does this make you feel tough? Time froze like a crashed system. Clay's fear receptors went into overdrive, his body becoming an exceptionally realistic statue of a kid about to get plummeted. Scott's fist connected with his nose in glorified HD quality, defining or definitely worthy of those neural feeds. Pain exploded through his face like a poorly coded firework display. I like that, but I kind of like how it said like fireworks gone off backwards in the other version from GPT. That was a really good line. I might actually like force that line in here, not force, but fit that line in here rather. His knees gave up their job of keeping him vertical, and he slumped to the grass, which felt about as synthetic as his chance of making it to training unscathed. The crowd's murmurs faded in and out like a badly tuned hollow screen. When Clay finally pried his eyes open, Scott had vanished like an unsubscribed service. The crowd lingered, as useful as a solar calculator in a cloud on a cloudy day. He touched his nose, tasting copper. Apparently, some things hadn't changed since the old days, like the taste of blood and the dedication of bystanders to the art of standing by. An officer bot zipped over, its chrome dome. I like that. Its chrome dome gleaming under its regulation blue hat. Clay had to admire how they'd programmed these things to wear hats, as if their metallic heads needed protection from the sun. Stop! Were you assaulted? The bot's voice managed to sound both concerned and completely devoid of actual emotion. A neat trick Clay wished he could master for family dinners. I'm fine, Clay lied, wondering if bots could detect sarcasm through their certainly not so necessarily hat brims. The bot's metal fingers wrapped around Clay's arm with the warmth of a winter marketing algorithm. Why are you bleeding? Some boy punched him, volunteered a woman from the crowd who apparently believed in the mottos see something, say something, do nothing. Clay tried to shake free, feeling the painter or feeling like a printer caught in a paper jam. Let go, nobody touched me, she's crazy. The bot released him, adjusting its completely decorative hat with mechanical precision. It's against the law to lie about a crime scene. Clay narrowed his eyes at the bot, wondering if whoever programmed it had ever been a teenager. Scott Jenkins and I were just messing around. Ask him. Will do, Clay Murdoch. Expect a visit from me if this story doesn't check out. The bot rolled away. Its hat still perfectly positioned, leaving Clay to wonder if it would be writing up its report or repost or composing poetry about the futility of teen justice. All right, cool. So that's a pretty good job. The only thing I might have it do, although I think this flows nicely, like it's a nice flow. It added just a little bit extra than what I had there, and I think maybe this is good pacing because we had like some parts where we're building the scene and everything like that, and then this is just I think a good pacing. I don't think we really need to slow this down with anything, but you might want to. You might want to tell. You can also tell it right here, or you can just copy and paste this and then into your file, and then just grab a certain part here and say, let's extend this just a little bit. Let's extend this section with something, or maybe there's a place here you want to add some backstory or something like that. Say, hey, just kind of maybe have him mention something about his mom here or something like that. Anyway, so as you can see, it's just so much better at writing. I want to show you one more other thing. I might as well because we're already super long video anyway. I think I want to show you one other thing because everything you need to know is in the beginning of this video. Everything after that is just like extra stuff that you could care about or not. So one of the things you might want to do is, let's say you wanted to write a whole scene for you based on very little information you give it. And so let's see how these both do in comparison. So we're just going to use the same information now, as if nothing else has changed, and say, oops, not there. Good job. Now I would like you to continue the scene, bring Clay to training, and make it exciting. Something like, I forgot her name already. What's her name? Oh, right, Lang. Lang. Okay. Lang is hard on him, but uh, Clay's dad is that not a word? Probably is. Just spelling it so wrong. Let's try right clicking it. Nope, maybe it's not a word. Maybe it's like this. There we go. Found it. All right, Clay needs to toughen up. And what else should happen in the scene? Have Lang so racist. All right, so then you can have they basically just kind of describe the scene a little bit, and then have by the end of the training, have Clay learn something. Be sure to, use sensory details. Also describe the scene well. Paint a picture for us. Anything else I want them to do? I think that's it. Right, and I don't really have to tell that to Claude, really. Claude kind of already knows, but I have to definitely have to tell it to GPT. So I'm gonna post that to GPT. I'm gonna post the exact same thing to Claude now. And it's gonna do the same thing by extending and making this new scene. And Claude is really good at this. So really, this I've noticed that when I want a scene written, this is all I need now. Instead of having to write a bare bones scene with all the dialogue and all that stuff intact, I can literally just write something like this for Claude, and it does a really good job at creating a scene for me. Whereas GPT not so much. What is it doing? Is it? Oh, it's trying to extend. Hold on. Please write this new scene in a doc. Because otherwise, if it tries to make the same doc, it gets too long and then it doesn't want to write enough detail. Wow, why is it going so slow? It's still writing. So if you want to read this, you can. You can see, how well it did versus the other one. So I'll go ahead and pause for a second. So you can read this if you want. Go ahead and pause the video and read it. I'm just gonna show what I'm reading now. I'm just kind of reading through this to see how it did. Just reading this part now. So that's not too bad. So you learned about endurance. Okay, cool. Let's see how much better this scene is here. I'm reading here now. Reading all this now. I like this right here. This cleaning bot part is good. Reading all this now. This last part here. So hopefully you can see that, definitely Claude is better. With ChatGPT, you often have to go back in and, do the thing I said, copy and paste it and pick some sections and say, hey, let's extend it or add this or that to it. Sometimes you still want to do that even with Claude, but it's way less often you ever have to do it. If ever having to do it at all, it's usually just things like certain information that doesn't quite fit your story that you have to tell, hey, let's just change that. Or sometimes it goofs up and forgets like something, When I was rewriting my vampire novel, it kept goofing up, saying things like undead. I'm like, my vampires aren't undead, they're aliens. But I didn't eventually, I think I just put that in a note saying, my vampires are not undead, they're aliens. And then it stopped making that mistake. So, but there you have it. So that's a little bit of the workflow that I use. And yeah, Claude's better. But if you want to, if you insist on using ChatGPT, maybe you like the way it writes better, that's cool. And like I said, it did the scene okay. You can just go back in here, maybe say, hey, let's extend this some more, like this, extend this part, maybe let's add some more fight scene here. And I can do the same thing here, right? I was actually thinking this could be a little bit longer of a scene. So after I post a scene, I can say, hey, let's take this section here and let's extend it. Let's make it to where more happens and there's more fighting, where he has to like dodge a certain attack and he learns something from it. Maybe have it tap into like Dune or something like that with Paul Atreides when he's training in the beginning of the novel, something like that. But anyway, so yeah, you can just do that sort of thing. By the way, if you want to learn how to use Claude the way I do it, and add all your styles, all that kind of stuff, watch my other video. I show how to do how to do Claude. And then someone's like, hey, can you also show me how to use GPT? So I made this video so you can also know how to do the same thing with GPT. And once 3.0 is still not going to be as good. I can already tell you. After I messed around with the 3.0 mini high, I tried like you can post long post though. So I just post long post all my notes as a long post. So that way I knew how to write and stuff. And it does maybe a little bit better than 4.0 maybe, but it's not nearly as good as Claude. So I have a feeling even when 3.0 comes out, it's just going to be really good at certain things like at task and at coding and things like that. But it's just not the model's just not geared toward creative writing as much as Claude is. Something about their training data and the way the two AIs work. Claude's just the best right now at writing, I think. All right. Anyway, eventually we'll probably have something where everything is just good at it, right? Until then, you can use either one you want and figure out which one you like better.